Morning, folks. I may have said that a bit too early because I only just turned the camera on. Morning, folks. That's better. It is 5:30 on a Sunday morning. That's not a genuine AMG, mate. I'll tell you that now. Anyway, yes, I'm on my way to work for my Sunday morning shift. One that I hate doing because for ages now I've been on afternoons, and you know what it's like. You get a little pattern going, and then all of a sudden you get like a Saturday off, you chill out, but you've still got to go. It's like a school night, you've still got to go to bed early because you're up at sparrow's fart in the morning. Today, once I'm there, I'm alright. But as you can see, there's a fair bit of traffic milling around because our village has a car boot until I think about October. Starts in the spring, runs all the way through, basically. And it is very, very popular with, let's say, a lot of people in the surrounding areas. Yes. So yeah, that top crossing to get onto the main road from our village can be busier at 5:30 on a Sunday than it is in any time during the week. It's ridiculous. Anyway, a little subject. I've had a couple of little private comments here and there after Steve did the suspension arms on the car. Is why spend that much money on a car that only cost you 200 quid? And to a lot of people, completely valid argument. Why spend, you know, that kind of money on what was bought as a banger? The simple fact, something is vibrating in the dashboard. Oh yeah, it's something I've got in the little cubbyhole. As usual, completely distracted. Squirrel! I get Bangernomics. I get why somebody would buy a £200-300 car, because they're still out there even now, and the market even for used cars is going through the roof, absolutely through the roof, as it is in a lot of countries, America especially. Is that people will buy a car for a couple of £100, few £100. Generally a banger or a shed is considered any car under £1,000, or used to be at any rate. But those cars that were £1,000 even a year, 2 years ago, certainly pre-COVID lockdown, you know, they're £2,500 cars now for some weird reason. £2,000, 1,500. They've gone up. Depends what make and model it is. The fact is this: there are some cars which will never sort of have a modern classic status, regardless of how much you like it, or something like that. And there are others, purely because of the manufacturer history, i.e. they're defunct or something like that, that automatically get modern classic status, and Rover and MG are just one of them. That's just the way it is. I mean, this is, I'll show you the page in the handbook, but this is an MG Rover press car. This was one of the original fleet of cars, and this is obviously a slightly later car, a 2002. The first ones I think were 1999, and then they sort of revamped it a bit, and that's what this is. This is what the first revamp before Project Drive. Project Drive was a cost-cutting exercise, so there's a lot of stuff in this car that isn't in a later car. So it's one of those examples where the later car isn't necessarily the better one to have, because it's silly things, little bits of trim, just to save money. Project Drive, and it was like a stepped program. I will get rid of like whatever, a door handle or something like that. We'll change little bits. The lists are online, so a lot of people who buy these cars and subsequently fall in love with these cars, because you cannot, this side of a Bentley, this side of a, say you buy a 2004 Bentley Continental or a Bentley Flying Spur, you might be laughing at this because you think, well, the chalk and cheese, mate, between a £200 Rover and a Bentley you can now buy for about fucking 12 grand, next wedding car, service regularly, whatever, it's still a Bentley, you know what I mean? But nowhere will you find a difference of style. A couple of Jags, XJ6s, stuff like that. I've had XJ6s, to be honest, lovely thing when you're driving it, but they go wrong a lot. I mean a lot. But the fit and finish inside, to feel a proper wooden door top trim and stuff like that, if you've never experienced, is fantastic. It's really, really nice, and it makes you feel very special. Come on then, my old darling, because you're on your way to your car boot to buy other people's shit. That's alright, don't acknowledge me then, you fuckwit. God, you think at this time of the morning people will have some road manners, unlike me. Right, and I'm going because you ain't slowing down, you fucking wanker. Why are people in such a rush to get to somewhere to buy other people's used shit? I don't get car boots. I've been to plenty, I've enjoyed them, I've bought a few bargains, but I can do without it now. Anyway, back onto the subject eventually in a circuitous manner. Some people don't get why some spend a lot of money on a used car. Even with the money we've spent on Rosie so far, and there's more to go, there's bodywork to do, there's front suspension to overhaul, there's ideally I need a windscreen, stuff like that. Even if I buy all that, I'm still quids in. And while it's a reliable running vehicle, these engines, this is only done 102,000 miles at the minute, which, considering the age of it, 20-year-old, literally just 20 years old, it was his birthday the other month, it's nothing. It's nothing. Mrs. Shed's little Fiat 500 we bought, it's 2014 car, and I think it was only like a year old, 2 years old, probably not 2 years old actually, when we bought it, and that had, I think, 14,000 miles on it. That's very rapidly catching up with this mileage. I think it's 80,000 plus, and you can knock little Fiat 500s all you want, because the people that tend to knock things have not experienced them. It's the same in bikers. That bike shit, I'd never have one of those. Like, well, fucking ride one, find out. Don't buy the bike that your mate says, oh, it's brilliant, you want it because it's brilliant for them. Go and ride something that you like, and go and buy a car that you like. You know, I mean, we're getting to the point now where I don't give a fuck if I've got a flash BMW behind me or an Audi or something like that, because I know it's not paid for and they don't own it, and to me that means nothing. That doesn't mean anything. If they lose their job tomorrow or something like that, that car's gone. So it's a fleeting thing, and they swan round like the fucking little Lord Mug because they've got a fucking car that they'll never own. And it's the same with bikes. A lot of people lease bikes now and stuff like that. It's just, it seems to have become a culture, and I don't like it. I like to own things, because to own things, you understand them. I mean, the majority of people that lease cars and all that lot never lift the bonnet. I can tell you that for a fact. Never lift the bonnet. Couldn't tell you where the battery was and all that lot. It shakes my head in disbelief. But it's, yeah, it's one of them things. So I can do all these jobs to Rosie, and as far as I'm concerned, I'm still quids in. But there's been a lot of people say, oh, because it's an express car and all this lot, you know, you have a duty to look after it. Well, they may think like that, and to a lot of people they're correct. You know, if this was like a Morris Minor or something like that, I think you do have a duty to keep them going, because once they're gone, they're gone. And there's not many 75 knocking about. There's a lot more than what you think, but there's not a lot knocking about. And a lot of people that own them have probably owned them from new or nearly new, and they like them that much they've just kept them. And there's a lot of people like me who have liked 75 since they came out and just never got round to getting one, but when one comes up at a decent price, snap it up and enjoy it. This car was never meant to be my daily driver. I just couldn't bear the thought of it either going for scrap or being sold to somebody who wouldn't appreciate it. So that's basically why I've got it, and just circumstances have dictated it's become my daily driver at the minute, because I've had to do some work on the Mercedes, because we had to do spark plugs and O2 sensor and all that lot. The Merc's ready for an MOT, it's just sitting there doing nothing at the minute. It's still insured, stuff like that, and it's just, we're now getting to the time of year where there's no point having a convertible. Well, I say there's no point, of course there's a point. It's better to have the roof down this time of year than it is in a scorching hot summer, because in a scorching hot summer with the roof down, you've got the sun beating down on you relentlessly, regardless of what speed you want to do, and it can be quite unpleasant. So a lot of the time on the hottest days, I've got the roof up and the air conditioning on, and then on mild days, even through the winter, I'll have the roof down, because that's lovely. The roof down in the winter is actually nicer than the summer. It's a bit like being on a motorbike. You smell everything, you hear everything. It's really, really good. So Bangernomics, what's your view on Bangernomics? Do you run a cheap car like the Rover? And I've seen some of the prices, some of the best examples you're going for. But relative to a new car, they're still cheap, super cheap. And it's like, I'd sooner drive this. I suppose I am going to offend people now, but I don't care. I'd sooner drive something like this and own it than pay £300-400 a month for a car that looks like everybody else's and I will never own. It's like the majority of these crossovers and SUVs, take the badges off, stick it in a car park, paint them all primer grey, and I doubt you'll find your car again, because they're just dull. They're just dull beyond belief. It's like that phase, I think it was in the 90s, where silver became the sort of popular model colour, and all the Retmobiles and all that lot were all silver. The Vauxhall Vectras, the BMWs, you name it, it was silver, and it got so dull, so dull. And I think the same thing's happened with the SUV market. Car designers now are just lazy fucks. Unless it's something super special like an Aston Martin or something like that, you may as well not put a badge on a lot of stuff. That is just my viewpoint, because I think they're just dull. Yes, they work very well, and a lot of them are very nice drives, stuff like that, but would I want to own one? No, because I like quirky, I like different. And I've noticed, I mean, especially I went down to the Oxfordshire mansion yesterday, yes I did, you know, and coming back through some of the Cotswold villages, because I don't do sort of a direct route, I chill out, take my time. A lot of the people walking through the villages and stuff like that will turn and look at a Rover 75 and smile, because this side of a Bentley or a Jag S type, something like that, you don't see cars that look like this anymore. And I think it's a beautiful design, and I like the Mark 1s more than I do the later cars with the melted headlights and stuff like that. It's just me, I think they're very, very elegant. But you see, I like Bentley Flying Spurs, I like the old Bentley Azures and stuff like that, the Enages. I love wafto barge, a waftmobile. I love stuff like that. But I like a lot of tiny cars as well. The original Mini. I don't know anybody who doesn't like an original Mini, and if you drive one, you'll know why. But it's like the little Fiat 500s. I like them because I've driven them, and I've seen how reliable ours is. I mean, apart from breaking a couple of door handle hinges, which is a common fault amongst that group of cars, and by that group of cars, Fiat or Chrysler basically. So things like door hinges are a common parts bin part. Fiat want about 250 quid to replace this tiny little door hinge which is in the front of the handle. You can buy the part for about a tenner, the genuine part, and it takes you about, taking your time, an hour to fit. And it's literally remove 2 screws and do it. But Fiat apparently want £250 to do it, and it's the same door handle is used on like Mitos and stuff like that, or the part is used on that. But other than that, I mean, mechanically and stuff, it's been spot on, absolutely spot on. So I can't really knock it. So that's just my little waffle, because I'm now at work and it's not fully light yet. Oh, where has the year gone? So anyway, I'm at work now, so I'm gonna go. Bye bye. Oh yes.